video didn't load for some reason.
Yeah, it's selecting my camera.
Yeah, it does that all the time for me. I don't like it. Never selects the one I want. Cool. We should be live. I see people joining in. People, hello. Say hello in the chat. Also, if you do want to come on stream, you can message me on LinkedIn. I know most people just like to watch and then talk in the chat, which is awesome as well. So definitely encourage that. Give me 1 second here. And I'll share out some links. Someone said hello from San Diego. Awesome. I'm streaming from Seattle. I think John is nearby as well. But yeah, it's always fun to see where people are tuning in from as well. So if you want to say hello, put where you're watching from. We're just going to wait a few minutes. We're already a minute early even right now, but we'll wait a few minutes for people to kind of join in before we really get going into the full discussion today. But I'll share some links out. I'll probably share this a couple times as more people join in. So everything is stored. Oh, let me send out one reminder real quick on Luma that I already had up. Everything's stored on, including past sessions, in this code repo, this AI build and learn repo on GitHub, including today. So we have all the past ones. We've been doing this every week so far for several weeks. I'm going to have to take a week off here. I actually might have to reschedule this Ragus one. So I'll let everyone know or change this in Meetup in Luma. It'll probably be pushed out just 1 week. And I have to take that Friday off, I think. But today is Karpathy's LLM-Wiki is the discussion topic. But also, while we're waiting for people to join in, do people have other topics that they want to add into the future? Hello there. Welcome.
Hello. Hey, guys. Can you hear me properly?
Yep, I can hear you.
Hey.
And we're just waiting for people to still kind of roll in a little bit before we get going more in the content.
Sure.
And then next week's, we're going to be talking about Cogni, which is an open source library for building memory layer for agents. This whole month kind of ended up being an agent memory thing in a sense, which has been pretty fun. And then we'll do Ragus. Like I was saying, this might have to move out 1 week out. So keep an eye on Meetup or Luma, wherever you're finding the events at. But this week's repo, I'll share directly in the chat. Oh, someone said, please do LangChain and deep agents. We could do that. Do you mean deep agents, their library? Let me pull that up real quick while we're still waiting a little bit. Deep. Because I know they have, that's a library by LangChain, right? Like the LangGraph library. Yeah, I think so. This one. Is this what you're talking about in the chat? Someone said the sign-in process was a bother to get to the YouTube link. Was that for the Luma, or let me know? So it said, greetings from Germany. Welcome, everyone. Okay, awesome. So yeah, the Luma event, I mean, you should be signed in if you had RSVP'd there, and this should just be a YouTube link. So I don't think there should be some other crazy sign-in thing that I'm aware of, but let me know. And then also on Meetup, because I kind of pointed to Luma as one central like source of truth, so I don't have to update everything everywhere, which could be a lot for me. So you can always just go to the YouTube channel. I have it linked in most of the meetups, I think, because that's just a static URL. But then the actual direct link I put into Luma. So I just have to do it in one place. Cool. So we'll add, I think we could do deep agents coming up in the summer, sometime over June. That sounds pretty fun. And then today is the LLM-Wiki pattern. Has anyone taken a look at this yet? So this is Karpathy's LLM-Wiki from his kind of just idea doc here. And this is the original kind of core idea of the LLM-Wiki. Oh, also, so the core idea of this meetup or stream is that I know not everyone's going to do it, but Hopefully some of you will want to spend some time during the week, like learning or building on the topic. So like at least probably like in half an hour or an hour or something like that. And then you could build a demo. And if you want to come present that demo, you're more than welcome to as well. So I think everyone up here is going to show a demo they built on top of the LLM-Wiki type of thing this week. And so if you want to explore Cogni next week and then build a demo and actually come up on stream and present it, you're more than welcome to. Or if you just want to share in the Slack channel. So there's a Slack channel that you can also join, and you can discuss kind of the topic throughout the week and share whatever you're building or resources that you found interesting. This week I didn't, because I was at a conference a lot of the week and then doing another event. But I try to be more active in there and kind of show what we've been building that week. So this week was the LLM-Wiki. Again, it's just this idea doc that's a GitHub gist from Andrej Karpathy. And the kind of overall idea, at least as I kind of read it, and then I tried to kind of graph out what is happening, and then I made an example with it. And I try to make a little visualization of like what's going on. Something I've been trying to play around with, generating some visualizations, is you have your raw resources that you're going to put in. So these could be like papers, articles, whatever it is that you want to start building this kind of wiki out of. And then I play this little show. There's this ingestion period where it takes it in these resources, and then it's going to break it out into like there's an index.md. We can look at what one might look like. And then it's going to break these out into different entity pages and concepts and summaries. And then when you ask it with a query like, hey, what is RAG or whatever it is that you've built up a wiki on, then it's going to bring in, I think, usually this index.md, and then it can traverse relevant pages and bring in that context to the answer, kind of like RAG, but it's not done in that same retrieval augmented generation way with a vector store. It's crawling through these markdown files that you have, and then it's going to be constantly changing it. So like if you're just adding more articles in here, it can create new entities, extract those out, put them into the index.md, and then you can keep kind of updating these as you go. And then they have this kind of linting phase where you can run a health check on it periodically. That could be like, I think they even just kind of describe it as manual, but you could have this like as a trigger that goes over a certain amount of times, or anytime you put something new in there, it'll look for things that are like, oh, a missing concept, or something's contradicting each other into summaries, and then you want to fix it. So, and I think that you could expand off of that as well. Like one thing I was thinking about when I was building it is having it seeing when there's missing things, like a missing concept that wasn't in here. If you could actually go do like search with Tavili, like one of the other tools that we'd used in the past, build and learn, and then pull that concept down and put it into a markdown file. And I can quickly show, and I could dive more into the code later, but I'll quickly show something I built, and then we'll go with the other people here that wanted to show their demos too. And then if people have other links to ones that they thought was interesting. So I know in the comments as well, you can go check out other people's implementations. So in that same just link, if you scroll down, a lot of people have shared like their implementations of this stuff. So what I did was I built a workflow. This is running just on local Flyte, which is open source DevBox. So this is like a workflow. And the idea, this is just kind of a seed, like the beginning of something that maybe I'll build upon more. It's I can have this workflow that would ingest documents that I can pass in. And for me, I've been switching over to Obsidian for some of my note taking. And so eventually I might have this ingest like documents from there. So it would pull in the latest stuff that I add. Currently, just for this demo, it's ingesting a couple Wikipedia pages here as a source, and this runs it as a workflow. And then it does a test query, so you can see what it looks like. You could edit this if you wanted to see like what it would return. And then it does that linting phase of finding like, oh, there's a missing concepts in here, and it's going to mention those. And then this returns all those the MD files, the markdown files that then I can consume in a model. So then I have a Gemma 4 model running. So this is not using Claude or Codex. I'm just using a Gemma 4 26 billion active 4 billion model here. And then I have this little chat interface I built. Let me refresh this. And then so the idea was like maybe it could just consume my notes on a trigger that you can also set up in Flyte. So like every 24 hours or something like that, pull in all the stuff, create the wiki. So now I can ask it, I'll just say, what is RAG? That was one of the pages that I pulled down from Wikipedia. And yeah, okay, the model is spun up. So you can see it's pulling in these concepts, which are like entity pages it mapped out. These are like the markdown files. And we can look at what that looks like here in a second. So it returns, it's very similar to RAG, but just pulling in the data a different way. If I go to browse, we can see that I have 11 different pages here, and including an index.md, which is what this is. It doesn't render in here, but these are, if you can kind of see, they're decorated with a bracket. So this is basically building out a graph of concepts that the index points to that they can kind of crawl over. And then you can go to any one of those. So you go to your AI hallucination page. This is very short right now, but they would build it like as you're asking more questions, bringing in more resources, it keeps building up this concept page. And then ideally you'd have much more data in here, and then it can answer pretty accurately. And they can run lint on it. And it might say there's like broken links here, missing pages. Like it probably references this prompt engineering one, but it isn't there. And then so you could have it clean this up. Or like I was saying, it might be cool to add in kind of another process where if I'm building up like a knowledge base of reinforcement learning concepts or something and it's missing, have Tavili like go search for that and then bring it down in a concept page. I think that would be kind of cool. So that's my kind of a quick demo of what I ended up building. I don't know if anyone else wants to share theirs.
I can share mine, and then, or Pankaj, did you make one?
Yeah, yeah, I can go ahead after you.
You go. Right.
Oh, okay, sure. Let me see, how do I present it?
Oh, yeah, there should be a little icon that says share screen.
Yeah.
Then I'll bring it up on stage here.
Oh, 1 second. I think I need to give it permissions.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Someone asked a good question. Has anyone tried LLM-Wiki concept with a production size vault, like over 1,000 raw assets, including large books and multi-hour podcast transcripts? I suspect the LLM ingestion will start to struggle. Yeah, I haven't tried it on a very large data set yet. But I think at some point, if you have a ton, you're gonna have to figure out, I guess, how to make almost at least off the top of my head, I was thinking about if it did get really big, you'd have to make a more like a summarized version of the index.md that it reads in first, that maybe links out to bigger concepts or smaller concepts, but it has bigger ones, and then can start traversing down them. I think, and we had talked about in one of the other previous build and learns on agent memory, something like that as well, where it's like people are now just storing a lot of stuff in markdown files as your kind of local memory layer. And it can add a lot of context pretty quickly, but you can kind of start chunking them down and then fanning out to different concepts. And that's my hunch, is I would do something like that.
Yeah,
I can say even just with this content, because I did mine going through, this 9 weeks of projects that we've done. And as I ingested every week, the sequence got longer and longer, right? So I can imagine once we get, 20, 30 weeks or however many weeks, it's just the ingestion is going to get longer and longer. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so I can start. So I basically actually went through like some of the similar implementations and like get a rough idea like how it is doing. And yeah, so this is like just a very basic workflow that I generated using Gemini, and what am I doing in my process. So we take a raw source file, and then it goes through like 3 phases. First one is actually where I create the source summary for each of the raw file, and it generates the summary. And then it also in the summary file, it kind of gives you like what does it actually contribute to the whole wiki context, and then it creates the entities and concepts. And so if I have to like show clearly, I have been using Obsidian here. So this is where actually I created 3 folders. So one is the sources one, where like you have different sources, and then in the system folder which contains, you can say, so here this agent.md is the main prompt file where I have like given the instruction, what is the file structure, what is the ingestion protocol, and then I have like given like templates for each of the like concept page, entity page, index page, source summary page. And then this wiki is actually contains like the major information about whatever actually the LLMs create. So you can see here that at the first stage where I mentioned that we are creating, sorry, one second. Yeah, the first stage we are creating the source summary. So what I mean here is basically it creates the source summary for each of the document. And yeah, it also creates, so once that is done, it creates a summary and it identifies the entity concepts. It goes to the phase 2 and it checks like for each entity concept whether do we have created a page or not. So you can say like when I say page, suppose I'm doing this entities. Oh yeah, just quick note for my like testing and this thing, I actually did my source as a One Piece. I'm not sure whether, are you guys aware of the anime One Piece? So
Yeah.
yeah, so what I did is actually I just created into 3 parts. Like first part contains the first arc, second part contains the after the like how the people meet, and yeah, like this. So I first ingested the first OP part 1, and it created like the summary and also the entities, like concept. So you can see that it created entities like Goldie Raja, Nami, and the main characters. Similarly, concepts also like what is a devil fruit, what is a grand line concept, and yeah. So this goes actually into the second part. That is phase 2, where we create all the we create the entities and concept pages. Here, like 2 things. Like if page does not exist, it creates the page, and also it actually has like some other things like what are the, like if I go to one of the concepts, okay, again, what are the core facts about that concept, what are the connections to the other things. And I've also made something like audit trial where it actually as you ingest other documents, and if we see something related to the same concept, it updates like, okay, this is from this document, so for example, we can see like for Nami concept, it first actually created, okay, we got something from OP part 1 where it actually have this key update. Similarly, when I ingested the part 2, then okay, it got some new information about Nami and it actually added this here. And yeah, once this is done, then third part is actually the bookkeeping. And by bookkeeping is basically having the index and the log that we have that actually is present in the LLM-wiki. And this index, if I like just explain a very short, it contains the list of all the entities and the source summaries and the concept that has been in the wiki. So it's just like a quick look like a normal index that we have in book. And the log contains actually the processes that are done. So it's still a work in progress. Right now, I'm just using the ingest, like whenever I'm trying to ingest any document and its document is there, like while doing ingestion operation, whatever has been created, whatever has been updated. I'd say like a good addition would be also to include the querying part. I think I will include that later. And yeah, so once this is done, it creates the div and we can query it. So I've not been GUIs any related, so I've been actually using CLI itself. So initially started with cloud code agent, but somehow it was very slow for me. And in my backend, I'm using for the model, I'm using Gemma 4. So if I show you, one second, hold on my list.
Are you running Gemma 4 on Olama or something else?
Yeah, I'm running Gemma 4 on Olama. So I could I downloaded this model and I'm using it on my local PC. And for actually, I'm using something known as IDER here, which is kind of interface between me and the LLM. And IDER is actually, you can say it handles all the file system related things. Like if I want to edit, because LLMs can't edit the files or create or update files in the file system. So IDER is mostly, you can say, like a pair programming tool, which talks to me and then it talks to the agent, and then whatever the agent replies, then it actually updates all the files and makes all the necessary things in the wiki. yeah, I think that's all actually. I think,
Awesome. That's super cool. I need to get around to having mine do, like, I want to do the Obsidian thing. I haven't integrated it in with it yet, but it seems really cool. And
I can one say I think I forgot to show the graph. I can just give me 1 minute.
and someone else had a question too of which Gemma model are you using? Is it the 26 billion? Was it 31 billion?
I don't think so. It's the one actually below. I think it's 8 billion one actually.
Oh, okay. Cool,
so
cool.
yeah. So I think I just want to show this was really cool to actually see the graphs.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. So I think as you can see with OP part one. So like if I do monkey DLUFI connect, so it got connected to Devil Fruit, Shanks, Golden Piracy, and if I connect to Poneglyph, so we know that Nico Robin is actually is a master of Poneglyph. She can read Poneglyph, so it was able to connect that, and we also found one Poneglyph on Skype Arc. Yeah, so it was really cool actually to see this graph coming and
that's awesome.
What's running the graph?
Obsidian.
It's Obsidian actually. So Obsidian has a view open graph, and then it connects all. So for the graph, we actually have something like you can say these wiki links that is kind of actually comes into picture when it is trying to convert the graph.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love seeing the graph. We did last week. We did like graph data with like Neo4j, and then Obsidian just has that built in for the relationships, which is really nice. And so somebody asked what was the interface, and I think they were talking about Obsidian. So Obsidian's like a note-taking tool that has a lot of cool plugins, but at its core, as far as I know, it's basically just Markdown files, and then sometimes like Excalibur if you're using that as a plugin too. But it's really a interface for reading Markdown files at its core, and so it's great if you're using like LLMs to make these notes, like in your example. But then you get the interface where you can go edit. You could augment them. You could get the view of like the graph and see how they connect together. That's really cool. And that's what I mentioned. I would I want to go in and get to that point. I didn't for my demo today, but that's so cool to see.
I think someone asked how to use graph for practical use. I think it's mostly for seeing the relationship between entities and how progressively actually as we ingest how the graph turns out to be, how the graph reads. I think that's all actually.
And seeing I think the practical uses in this case, I mean, it's kind of already doing I guess it's navigating the graph a little bit when it's bringing in data. Like if you have a query piece to it as well, like it's like navigating the graph there. But the visualizations, is awesome just to see how those things relate to each other. And then I believe you can even click into them to like open them up. I think. Right?
Yeah,
so
that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So you'd be like, I'm looking at this concept. Oh, I see it goes to these other things. I'm going to go brush up on that in my wiki or whatever. And you can click in and then, relearn your refresh yourself on whatever that concept is.
Yeah. And some of the learnings I think I had while using IDA is like sometimes it forgets to edit files and it creates the update in the chat, like but after that it does not actually implement it into the actual file system. So I've seen that behavior too. And sometimes in the prompt I have given that don't actually strict prohibition, like don't actually change the files in the system, because I don't want LLMs to change the templates and the agent stutter. But right. It did once or twice. I think I did say that it did try to actually say that change that, and what fixed it basically is using some more stricter prompting. Yeah, I think those things can help. So I think this was more on the exercise of like, I feel like more on the prompt side, like how to give a better prompt. And yeah, I think that was good actually.
Yeah, and if you're using just the 8 billion parameter one, that's awesome. Because I think so someone had mentioned they're hoping you're using the 26 billion because that's all they could run, but you're using even a smaller one. So that's awesome. And someone also asked, is your project open? Like, do you have it anywhere on GitHub or anything like that?
Not yet, actually. But I think this weekend I will be creating a blog, and also I will make it like public. And then, I can also add it to the Git repo that you have.
Yeah. You can share it in there. You can also share it in the Slack channel later too, if
Sure.
people want to check it out.
Okay, thank you.
And someone mentioned there's few implementations in the GIS. Yeah, so I think I had pointed out earlier, but if you weren't here, you can go to the original idea doc, and if you scroll down in like the comments, there's quite a few implementations. If you're just looking for other ones to get started, you can go check that out. Let's see a couple other questions, or I mean, John, do you want to start bringing up your screen, and you can share your demo? While you're doing that, let me see if there's any other questions. And somebody had asked, somebody said, which is, of course, you could and probably should use multi-agent orchestration with open source models to do the resynthesis for you and have, what does CC stand for? Have CC over them, complete control over them. I think it's what that stands for, probably. Which makes sense. And I think actually in my example and in their example, we were both using Gemma 4. John has a really fun project, I know, because I saw your post about it earlier about synthesizing the stuff from previous weeks build and learns. And that's one thing I was getting started on too, and I didn't want to redo the same thing. And I was like, oh, John already did it.
So funny. I had this problem. Maybe I should check in with Sage because he might want to do the same thing.
No, it's awesome. And it would be fine if we did the same one.
So yeah, the idea here was that, well, the end goal is that hopefully Sage can use this, and because there is a feature in here where he can actually prep for the next week. So he can run a prep command, and then it'll give him, prep materials for it'll start the wiki for next week. So I haven't run that one yet because it's kind of the I didn't have anything to prep. So we'll run that as the last step of this demo. But here in the index.html, we can see all the ingestions I've done. We can see that 7 pages, 16 concepts, and 11 tools. So the idea is from the single claude.md, it really generates what the agent does upon ingestion. And what it does is it creates the topics. So it's essentially one topic per week. And then based on the topic, it's going to create the compounding concepts. So if we're reusing concepts, then agents have been a very common concept in every single one of our weeks. So it's going to go into this agents.md and it's going to update that part of the wiki. And then as you incorporate new concepts like RAG, which we did, 2 or 3 weeks ago, it'll create the new concept, and then it'll also update, any of the other pages that are related. Next, it'll bring in the tools. So here you can get a good wiki on all the various tools that we've used. And once it's done, the topics, the concepts, and the tools, it updates the index. So you can see everything in topics. And I liked Frank Hodge's view in terms of it was more HTML, more clickable. That was pretty cool. Might make some changes there. And then it creates a log. So here today I've run 2 ingestions of the past prior weeks because I didn't feel like it was worth everyone watching the ingestion piece. We will run 1 ingestion. So to run it, it's pretty simple. Just type ingest and topics. And this week is LLM/wiki. And just using Claude. I've set it to bypass permissions, so it doesn't prompt me for every time it wants to create a page. And it'll take a couple minutes to run. And then as part of the delivery, it gives me these charts, right, where it'll tell me, which pages it extended, which pages are new. And by week, it'll tell me, where it extended a page. So you can kind of see that history of 3 pages were extended, then 4, then 5, then 6, and so on. And then there's the cumulative the cumulative process. So here it's thinking and doing its thing, but we're going to run an ingestion for this week, which this week is kind of, we're doing an ingestion on the topic itself that we, and then the last phase is, run the step to plan for the following week. So it's writing 8 files now, 3 new, 5 updated. And coming from an environment, being at Microsoft for as long as I was, I mean, wikis and websites, and I've been through the thick of it in many cases, and so this is great. I see myself remembering back to, gosh, if I would have had this, 2-3 years ago, wiki management would have been so much more. Someone changes the link, and then pretty soon you're getting requests from people. This link, this page is broken, that page is broken. It's a constant overhead. So tools like this are very, it's definitely much easier to manage large wikis, that's for sure. This will probably take a few more minutes, maybe. Let's see.
Somebody had a good question. How do you evaluate if the agent is doing the updates correctly? I think there's a whole field around that right now, and that would be something that you would want to be careful with. Like if you're actually relying on this for something like pretty important, it would be like just using an LLM, like asking an LLM something. But if you do have the source material, it can help to have it like cite it, and then you can go read it. And if it generated that summary, you could still have it linked back to the original thing that ingested like the documents. And then there are other like evaluation scoring things that you could do, which I don't think any of us did for these demos, but like you can use like LM as a judge to compare those things, which is, you're putting another element in the loop though. And then there's some other metrics too that you can use that might work in this scenario where you're looking at the original document, you're looking at the generated thing, and then kind of using some metric that you can extract out to see if kind of the words overlap or the concepts are in there. So yeah, someone said faithfulness. That's one of the scores, I think. There's things like, I don't know if blue and rouge are for smaller amounts of text, but things that kind of try to tell you that this matches or overlaps in some way.
Yeah, and then it's part of the reason why, obviously the log and the index are kind of valuable. I mean, somebody obviously has to pay attention to those every now and then to make sure. And then these charts it's a good manual step to kind of look through and just, but in terms of the actual authenticity of the content itself, yeah, a little more difficult. So that's the ingestion process, and now we're up to date. So now we put ourselves in a situation where we're planning for next week and see if this provides this. So we'll just do prep, and I think the next topic is cogni, and then just see what it does. And the actual instructions are in the cloud.md for this step. So it's checking if the source exists, and it'll look into the README of that folder. So I think Sage might have put a README in there already. It might not, but the idea is that this prep step provides some sort of value, and if it doesn't, then
that's cool. Yeah, I think I put a very short README in there, so it might pull something from it. Somebody had a question too. They said, does anyone use logsec instead of Obsidian? I've never heard of that, so I haven't. I'll look it up though.
It's writing the prep brief, and then you can run into the chat and you can search for concepts and things like that. That's pretty accurate and very reliable. So very similar to what Pankaj did in his as well. So let's see, moment of truth, prep brief, memory layer for agents, date. And it just looks like it's writing the log, brief written, and it wrote it to the prep cogni. So within the wiki, we can see this file here. What the audience already knows. And what's generally new. Anticipated chat questions. There you go. There you go, Sage.
Nice.
Tools likely to come up. Yeah. Connections worth naming on stream. Right. And then, so, hey, I'll take a look closer and see, but that's the project.
Cool. Cool. It's fun to play around with.
This will be pushed once, yeah.
Well, yeah. I think you have a couple PRs I need to merge in there. This is the other tool that the person mentioned. I hadn't looked at LogSec, but it looks like another kind of note management tool, probably similar-ish to Obsidian. I'm sure if anyone else has any other ones that they've kind of used in the past.
Now you use Obsidian over something like VS Code, or is that?
It's it logs your Markdown files, or it's really a way to open Markdown files and like visualize them nicely in like in a notebook format. So it'll render the Markdown, but then also like we saw, there's the graph relationship, so you can have links to other notes, and it'll build that graph out. So I've heard a lot of people using it with AI. I haven't done it yet. Because since it's just Markdown files locally, you can have something like Claude Code edit and update all those, but then you as a human can just open it up in this nicer note reading app. There's also like a sync version, so you can have it on your like sync to your phone and stuff like that, or your other computers. So you could do a lot of updates and then pull it in pretty easily other places. But at the core, it's just Markdown files that build the notes.
So it's my OneNote replacement then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Peeling me away from Microsoft.
There's also talking about OneNote, because OneNote, I love like the drawing stuff in OneNote, and I like how you kind of have the infinite canvas, but the structuring of stuff can kind of suck in there sometimes. But what is cool is, because I've been playing around with Obsidian recently for notes, is they have an Excalidraw plugin. So if you want to draw things, you can, and then it'll save it in your, they call it a Vault, but it's just your file system where Obsidian lives. So you can have Excalidraw in there as well without paying for like a subscription to it, and then I think make as many of those drawings as you want. So if you do want to draw and sketch stuff out, like I like doing that for notes sometimes, you can do that in there, and then you can also save frames and embed them directly in your notes and stuff, which is really nice. So a lot of cool stuff in Obsidian that I've been playing around with. Someone said someone said 2 great projects, and then someone also added on LogSec is another solution minus a dedicated CLI, and Notion just released their own CLI. Oh, I didn't know Notion did that now. With Notion on the CLI, I guess like if you're having AI edit the files, what does it look like underneath? Is it also just kind of like a Markdown format, I'd imagine, or is it a special like Notion format? Somebody else said great demos. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for the demos, everyone. It's really cool. Someone else said different philosophy, outline, but still works. Tana is another outliner, and they use Obsidian for long form, LogSec and Tana for outlining short form. Oh, interesting. So kind of combine multiple note platforms. Yeah, I'm always trying to figure out the best note taking. I've gone back and forth. There's also a really cool one called a Fine or a Fiend that has also like a drawing canvas you can switch to, and then embed those directly into structured text like Notion, which is, I was using that, but then I found out I could actually do that in Obsidian. So that kind of made me switch, which is cool. Somebody also asked earlier I think some of the I can't find the question now, but on the differences between like doing this versus like traditional RAG, and it's probably similar, or I think they mentioned graph RAG too. And like we've done in the last 3, or now this is the 3rd one. Like we did kind of regular vector store RAG based applications, and I've done more of that in the past too. And then we did graph RAG the other week, which I hadn't actually implemented before, where you have those relations back to each other potentially, and there's different ways to like read those in. And then we had this one where it's reading in. Again, you can change this to fit whatever your kind of philosophy is, I think. But it's reading in more context by default about the thing that it's pulling up, where at least the way I have it. Whereas like RAG, you're usually just loading in chunks of data, and the chunking is a huge piece of kind of tuning your RAG system. And it's going to quickly usually bring in those chunks, but it doesn't have all the relationships or context to those chunks by default. There's different RAG implementations you could do, like tree RAG and stuff, where you do get some of that, but just traditional RAG, you're going to load in a chunk, but not have like the relationships of where that came from, right? Or you might have where it came from, but it's not going to relate to other concepts. Whereas in graph RAG, you can have it traverse and see the concepts that relates to it or different entities. So it said they thought it was pretty easy to get LM-Wiki. You just ask the agent to adopt in by reading Karpathy's just repo, isn't it? What is the difference between that and what you do? And that what you do. I mean, I mostly used Claude to help build mine out too. I'm not sure if everyone else did the same.
Yeah.
And for our quick demos, like the week, like if I was actually implementing this somewhere, I'd probably do a lot more editing on it.
Yeah, I think for me also I use Gemini, but I was going through like other actual implementation. So currently I implemented like ingest and query, but other feature which I liked is actually the remember. There's something I remember, like, okay, like remember, like for all the chats I want to actually I want you to input all the in markdown files. So these kind of features I think could be useful also in this wiki page.
And someone's talking about the RAG stuff too. They said that, and then again, as your LM-Wiki grows, RAG will appear as a better option, especially if your ingestion courses maybe all roads lead to RAG in the end anyway. Yeah, I think at a certain point, if you have way too much data in here, you would want to use something like RAG. At least that's the starting point, and that you can do the graph relationships out of that original RAG, I think, right? And that's kind of when we built our graph RAG system. If you have a lot of data, you want to bring in relevant chunks, and those could be starting places that have relations to other concepts. And then you could have your LM go back and look at those concepts if you needed to, if you're doing it on that query part. I think a big part of this, though, too, is that, and we saw like in some of the other projects, it wasn't even so much about being able to query the data from an LM, but building a wiki for you that is like very human readable too. So the other ones don't really by default have like that nice structure that's being a wiki maintained that you could just go read the concepts. So like if I was using this to study for school, I would maybe build out my own wiki with all the concepts that I'm learning and then review those notes and stuff. And it's not just a retrieval database piece for an LM. It's hopefully a nice thing for you to read, I think, is the big point of this too.
Well, the most impactful for me, I think, is that when you create something new and all of those dependencies, or when you make a key change, like if you were to make a change to a hyperlink, a system that could automatically go and know where you have to go and make further changes, but automatically do it, brand names, or organizational structure name changes. It's yeah.
Somebody asked, have we looked at Gbrain by Gary Tan? I haven't. I've seen his other stuff. He also does the GStack, setting up like Claude Code to help you run a business. I know I've looked at that before. I haven't looked at this one before. Gbrain, your agent is smart but forgetful. Gbrain gives it a brain. maybe this is another tool to look at on a different week if people are interested. Yeah, the President of Y Combinator. So the G Stack was one around businesses, like it gives you office hours and like a CEO or something like that to consult like as you're building a business, which seems a really cool idea. The G Stack version. I haven't looked at this, so off the top of my head, the person who commented on it, if you have looked at it, are there any things that stand out that you think are super interesting? I'm trying to kind of read the top part here. The brain wires itself every page, right? Extracts entity references and creates typed links attended, worked at, invested in, founded, advises. So again, it sounds kind of like from a business aspect, like as you're like he builds Y or runs Y Combinator. And so you could probably adjust these two, right? Like to different entities that you want. A self-wiring knowledge graph. Interesting. So who works at ACM AI, or what did Bob invest in this quarter? And then it almost sounds like again, just skimming through this, like a similar knowledge base of how things are linked together. You're kind of building up a knowledge graph here, it seems like. And they said both GStack and GBrain can work together. Makes sense. So use GBrain in your GStack. I'll pull that up real quick too. Did I share? Oh, yeah, I shared the GBrain one. Let me pull up the other one.
Say that 100 times.
Yeah, again, I can barely say it once. Also, so we're getting closer to the end of time. What other topics are people interested in? So I need to book out some of the other month. I try not to book super far so that if new stuff comes out, we can bring it in as a topic. But what other topics are people interested in building or learning about? If you didn't already say one. Or if you already said one, you can say another one. And then again, if you want to join the Slack channel, you can also let us know there.
We're on break next week.
I think next week we're not. It's going to be the week after. So this one on the 29th, I think I'm going to have to move this out. So that'll be the last week of May on that Friday. I'm going to have to move it to the next week, I think. So apologize for people who are RSVP'd. I'll make a note in Luma and Meetup if you already did, just saying it's going to be the week after. I'm impressed we've already gone, what is this, week 8?
You might want to keep in mind that Memorial Day is the 25th. A lot of people will take that Friday off, right?
Oh, yeah. That's fine. I mean, maybe just no one will come, I guess. It's fine. Just I'll be talking to myself. Okay, cool. Good to know, though. Oh, and someone said as an idea, post-training. Any specific one in post-training? And I assume by post-training, you mean like post-training in LLM. Any specific like method comes to mind for you? Like, are you interested in fine-tuning like a full LLM using like LoRa, QLoRa? I'm actually doing a workshop on that next week. But I want to do some other stuff around like GRPO and some other post-training methods. So if you have a specific one, let me know too, and that can help kind of, I feel like, narrow down the build and learn instead of just saying like all post-training. We can pick on hopefully one of those things like GRPO, implement and do that that week, and then maybe we do another one the week after. Yeah, fine-tuning and any RL methods. Cool. Yeah, and if you are interested, I am doing, I'll bring up the link. I'm doing a workshop through work next week. So different format than this super casual one. So we could totally do that. We could totally do a post-training one in this format as well. But if you are interested, I'm doing a workshop using LoRa and QLoRa for full fine-tuning next week if you want to join in. But otherwise, I think we should do that here too. I think that's a good idea. Any other topic ideas from people before we probably wrap up the stream? Anyone else on stream have any topic ideas?
I have been thinking about like I've been thinking a lot actually about observability side. Sorry, I have
Yeah.
two prawns. So I mean, right now I don't have like what else, but I think maybe we can also look later actually what can be done actually on that side.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's in the list. We haven't chosen a date for it, and that could be even around. There's a lot of cool tools to like check out for this. So like Phoenix by Arise is like an open source one that you can use. Like that might be a fun one to specifically be like, hey, try this out, and maybe we try out several different tools and see how they work together, or how they work over each other. And there's like evals. It's always interesting too. Actually, the I guess the one I have to move, this one is evaluation for RAG and memory. So it kind of evaluates what's retrieved and then what's generated out of it. So this is kind of getting a little bit into that space. And then we should go further into like a different monitoring space, like when having something in production and monitoring over time. Although I think you can do that with Ragus as well. There's also a I'm hoping maybe I can get like a first version of it out in the summer. Or over the summer or just after, is I've been working on what hopefully will become like an open source tool for doing some monitoring and evals for stuff in production. So I'm excited to I kind of been working in that space a little bit for some stuff that I'm building. And I hope I can make it as like a hopefully cool open source library with some of those monitoring techniques and eval stuff kind of built in. So it's cool. And I'm excited to dive in more and try other tools and see how they do it as well. Someone said, how do you make money would be a great topic. Do you want to come up and present on
it? Yeah. We can start how to do trading stocks.
Yeah, do they mean how to make money with LLMs? It would be interesting. I was thinking about different applications for the LLM-wiki. Like if you try to use this type of storage for something like stock trading or something like that, I don't know, could be interesting. I need to look in and see if anyone's actually tried it in like specific industries yet. I mean, it's obviously very new, so I don't know if there's a lot of documentation on it, but it'd be interesting to see if it's used in like healthcare applications or trading or anything like that.
I could see actually a good potential in trading, because like as we ingest the articles and everything, and it can actually get a knowledge base and can provide the hidden links. I'm just worried about the scalability part, like as the data set grows, how scalable it. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That was one thing too, for mine, where I built this workflow. This little, again, mine's pretty simple right now, pipeline. My thought process with this too is that I'll always have the snapshot to come back to. So if I did do something and like I want to understand why my model was behaving a certain way, like as I'm evaluating it later or whatever, I can come back and actually see like all my resources here, and I have that snapshot of all the markdown files, which again, I guess over time, if it was really, really big, that could take a lot of memory. Maybe I would want to delete them after a certain period, but it would be kind of nice. Like I think right now, a lot of people just have it editing stuff, and you could have like Git and stuff like that, version everything too. I'm not sure if everyone's doing that, but I would if I was putting it in production and I want to like evaluate why something was performing really good and now it's not performing good, and I want to roll back or something. I'd have like this workflow snapshot with the current state of the markdown files and like what happened, and then I could either roll back to it or like use it to debug. Okay.
Somebody said it would be fun to do a head-to-head comparison of two different models or implementations of the same project. Take a current controversy or new tech versus old tech approach to a project. What are some good ideas for that? Like new object detection models versus old ones or something like that comes to my mind, because I was doing object detection earlier this week. But I like the blind taste test. So it could be like one app, and you don't know what model is running. You get two comparison results or something like that would be kind of fun, actually. Maybe there's like, other heuristics you use for sentiment analysis, and it does better than a large language model. Somebody said create agents related to trading based on articles, books, etc. Yeah, I haven't gone in the agent trading space, but it's been on my radar to poke around at because it seems like an interesting field. Somebody said it would be cool to see composing the agent's reasoning and tool loop with LangGraph and Flyte. But yeah, I actually did a LangGraph workshop, and I actually have a blog that was supposed to go out this week. It might go out early next week. Hopefully, it's a building LangGraph and Flyte, like running agents built on LangGraph inside Flyte as the compute orchestrator. So you'll see a little bit of that actually with the reasoning, because you still build a graph in LangGraph, but you can actually see that entire run. I don't think I actually have one in here right now. I was going to see if I could pull it up to show you, but blog is coming out, I think next week on, not specifically, I mean, the reasoning loop is in there, but. And so it said, is there a recording? There is actually, yeah, on, let me pull it up on YouTube. There's a recording of the past workshop, and the code is linked in there too. I just don't have the blog published yet. So let me pull that up. Anything else before we wrap up for today's stream? It was really fun. It was really cool seeing all the projects.
I had one quick question from Sage. I think I remember that in the previous talks you mentioned that you're running local models on DGX.
Yeah.
I also like planning to buy, like not some, but maybe later at a point of time, some hardware actually to run. So like, what are the specifications that are like kind of minimum to run actually good models? As in like, do you have any suggestions there?
I don't think you definitely don't need like the whole DGX Spark. I think I don't know all the specs off the top of my head, but my friend, I believe, has a MacBook running with like 32 gigs of RAM. Or, well, I know he has one with 64 as well, and that one he at least definitely runs the Gemma 26B. But I think it can run on the 32B too, because it's 6 billion parameters, but 4 billion active. So I think it swaps some in the memory. So I don't think you need like you don't need the 128 gigs to run it.
Okay.
So like you could definitely run. At least from my head, or in my head, it's like I find I can run better models than I think sometimes. And then also you have the what is it, GGUF that come that I think a lot of the models on Ollama are already that, where they're like you can get quantized versions from what is it, something Unsloth or whatever versions that can run more efficiently too.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know how much memory. I think the big bandwidth or the big problem is often memory that I run into. And I'm actually going to get a new laptop soon, I think, that'll give me more, which is nice because I only have like 32 gigs right now too, and that is easy to eat up if you're running an LM and running Flyte Dev Box and streaming or anything like that. I've been pushing the boundaries of my RAM, I feel like, lately.
Yeah, I think I'm running my local LLMs on my MacBook Air, and
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's 24 GB, but I wish I had gotten a Pro
yeah.
So
yeah.
I think I was thinking to buy a Mac Mini. So I would just explain like what options, what is the configuration and everything that I should take.
Yeah. And yeah, the DGX Spark is nice because it's like a whole CUDA enabled GPU from NVIDIA. So just if you want to develop in like the CUDA stack and stuff, that works really good. Because I know sometimes for inference, I think it's usually fine, like running models on Macs. Sometimes during training, there's certain things that aren't implemented in the MPS version for PyTorch, for instance, or something like that, if you're trying to train at like a certain floating point. But CUDA, usually it's all there. So just noting that, like if you're going to run for inference, I think the Mac stuff's often pretty fine. But if you are doing more training, a lot of times it can work. But I've just found the CUDA stack to be a little bit more reliable still.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, let me check. Thanks for the information.
Yeah. It's been fun. I'm really glad I've gotten the DGX Spark though. It is really nice to be able to just take the 31 billion dense model Gemma or whatever and easily run it. And then I have been running I just have a Flyte instance on there, and then I'm remoting in right now through my laptop, but I can just interact with the models and spin up like models or spin them down, or they'll auto spin down after a certain amount of time just in Flyte on the DGX Spark. So it's been a really, really cool kind of home lab orchestration piece for like all the experiments I run and for actually hosting my models and stuff. It's just easy to like spin them down and up, which is cool. With that, I think we'll end the stream. Thank you so much for coming up and presenting. It was awesome to have you up here.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Oh, and someone said, good luck finding a Mac Mini in the next 3 months. Yeah, that's a good point, too. All right, I'm going to end the stream. If there's any other questions you missed, feel free to, again, join the Slack channel and ask them there. But I'll talk to you all later.